very good evening. Welcome to State of Business on our television. I'm Ashington Veerasinghe. Let's have a look at the headlines for today. Central Bank revised its economic growth to 3% for the year from the initial projected 4%. Joint opposition claims the bill to amend the Monetary Law Act is an attempt to isolate the central bank. News in detail. The central bank yesterday announced that it revised the economic growth to 3% for the year from the earlier projected 4%, considering the economic repercussions of the Easter Sunday attacks. However, on a positive note, Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy, stressed that there was surplus in current account of balance of payment in the first quarter of the year for the first time since 2009.
If you look at external stability and you take the current account as the indicator of external stability, for the first time in 10 years, in the first quarter of this year, there was a surplus in the current account of the balance of payments. That's the first time that has happened since 2009. Of course, it's only one quarter, but still, that is a positive development. And that has also clearly had an impact on the balance between inflows and outflows, which has meant that the rupee has been able to appreciate by 4.1% during the course of this year so far. So if, looking at inflation as the key indicator for domestic stability, the current account as a key indicator for external stability, on both fronts, we are in pretty good shape. And also gross official reserves, following the second international sovereign bond issuance, as at the end of June, was $8.9 billion, as you heard in the presentations. So if you look at stability, we are in pretty good shape. However, growth is a problem. And that is where we need to see how things can be accelerated.
Further, Central Bank Governor Dr. Kumaraswamy also highlighted that there will be a fiscal slippage due to the ramification of Easter Sunday attacks, compression of imports and many other economic reasons.
The reason one would want to be careful about relaxing policy is that there is evidence now that there could be fiscal slippage due to the Easter bombings, as well as the import compression that we are seeing outside the effects of the Easter bombings. The government's revenue, import duty collection has come down. In addition, with the lower level of economic activity, VAT, income tax, all that is likely to be affected. So government revenue is being affected. In addition, expenditure also is likely to be higher. The government is taking steps to review the whole budget and to make sure that it maintains the overall framework of the budget. But that fiscal slippage or possible fiscal slippage is an argument against relaxing policy.
The proposed amendments to the Monetary Law Act are to be reviewed by a committee of economists after President Maithripala Sirisena raised his concerns about the proposed changes to the Act. In a memorandum to the Cabinet, President Maithripala Sirisena said that before the amendments to the MLA are submitted to the legal draftsperson, it must go through a broader stakeholder dialogue and consultation process. The head of the state also stressed that the National Economic Council convene a committee of experts to study the provisions of the proposed MLA and submit a report to the Cabinet of Ministers for consideration. The government sources said that the main thrust of the amendments, the MLA, is to strengthen the independence of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka while facilitating the adoption of a flexible inflation targeting mechanism. Soon after the cabinet paper submitted, President Sirisena came up with his critical observations and concerns on a number of proposed amendments, including the proposal to remove Secretary to the Treasury from the Governing Council of Central Bank of Sri Lanka, limiting the central bank just monitor the monetary policies of the country. Meanwhile, the joint opposition group also heavily criticized the government for seeking the approval for a bill to amend the Finance Act as an attempt to isolate the central bank and also undermine the Employees' Provident Fund. Addressing media at the Parliament complex, opposition leader Mahinda Rajapaksa held the days are numbered for the current government and as such they have no right to continue amending legislation. He said some of the legislation was aimed at getting access to the EPF that contains the much valued savings of the working class in the private sector. The opposition leader highlighted that the central bank was a part of the Ministry of Finance and based on the provisions of the Finance Act, the Secretary to the Ministry of the Finance was a member of the Monetary Board of the central bank and he was able to implement fiscal policies of the government without an issue.
He also claimed that the bill to amend the Finance Act will remove the Secretary of the Ministry of Finance from the Monetary Board, giving Central Bank the ability to function independently and allowing the monetary and fiscal policies to function separately. United People's Freedom Alliance MP Bandula Gunawardena also addressed the media, said that the Finance Act should not be amended for political gains and alarmed that the President should not let the government do it for the latter's advantage. The parliamentarian also charged that the government was eyeing the huge monies at the EPF and that anyhow won't be beneficial for the country. He also said brought examples from India, Australia and Brazil.
Stay tuned for more news after this short break. Welcome back after the break. Australian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka David Hawley stressed that Sri Lanka, together with its chambers, should work under a sustainable basis to enhance the country's economy while recently being elevated to the upper middle income category. Australian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka made these remarks at the 24th Annual General Meeting of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, which partnered with Sri Lanka, Australia, New Zealand Business Council.
I have some congratulations for Sri Lanka. You are now officially a middle-income country, having graduated from that process. It means a couple of things, nothing much in the near term, but in the future, things like development assistance and others will be harder to provide to the country. I mentioned, for example, the programs that we've been having in tourism and in training, and these are programs that I think, along with others, that we need to find a sustainable basis to be able to continue on. Maybe not in their current form, but maybe to be able to ensure that they have some ongoing engagement.
The US-based travel and leisure magazine have ranked Sri Lanka as the best island in the world to visit in 2019, adding to the accolades the country received recently. Sri Lanka debuted at the top of the list for its diversity of experiences. The publication www.travelandleisure.com announced last Wednesday. Travel and Leisure magazine says that wildlife, marine life, tea plantations and stunning beaches make the island a must-visit and an unforgettable destination. Sri Lanka beat out a host of Greek islands, the Maldives, Fiji, Maui in Hawaii and the Paulan Islands in the Philippines to take the global top spot as well as the #1 island in Asia. The magazine also says that Sri Lanka's booming tourism industry has taken a hit after the terrorist attacks in April, but the island is healing its wounds soon and as glorious as ever to visit. The magazine further suggests that it's worth clearing everyone's calendar to spend as much time as possible on this 25,000 square mile jewel located off the coast of India. Sri Lanka was named the world's greatest place to visit in 2019 by Lonely Planet, which said that its choice remained unchanged after the Easter Sunday terror attack. A loan agreement was signed between the government of Sri Lanka and ING Bank NV of the Netherlands for an amount of 9 billion rupees for strengthening the health delivery service in the northern province.
The financing agreement was signed by Secretary of the Ministry of Finance Dr. R.H. Samaratunga and Willem van Nahu of ING Bank NV in the presence of the Ambassador of Sri Lanka for the Netherlands, Sumit Nakandala, and Ambassador for Netherlands to Sri Lanka Johan Dunewald on last Wednesday at the headquarters of Netherlands Enterprise Agency. With the conclusion of the conflict in the northern province of Sri Lanka, the government of Sri Lanka took up the challenge of rehabilitation and reconstruction services and infrastructure facilities in the province. Under the program, special attention was given to improve health facilities and services through the reconstructing infrastructure and increasing the capacity of the human resources, mainly at the District General Hospitals of Kilinochchi and Vaunia and Base Hospital of Point Pedro and Manakulam. The ING Bank NV will also provide an export credit facility to cover 75% of the contract cost, and balance 25% of the contract will be financed by a grant extended by the DRIVE project by the Netherlands.
Now we have senior research analyst of First Capital Holdings, Hiruni Pereira, bringing an analysis of the stock market for the week along with a forecast for the coming week.
Stock market saw a major change in sentiment during this week, especially with the government's announcement of implementation of few infrastructure projects last week. With that, SPI hit its highest close since 18th April on this week Thursday, resulting in significant retail and high net worth activities in the market. Turnover levels and gains remained moderate, while foreigners were mostly on to the selling side during the week. Investor interest was primarily centered on the mid-cap stocks, while selected blue chips saw buying interest. Adding to the positive side, currency also closed firmer at 175.50 per dollar compared with the last Friday's close of 176.40. We expect the market to remain positive during the upcoming week amid the change in investor sentiment. However, strong gains are unlikely, with profit taking in selected counters. Turnover levels are also likely to be moderate, similar to last week. We also believe that activities from retail and high net worth individuals to dominate the market.
We'll be back after a short break. Welcome back after the break. Trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a positive note today. The all-share price index gained 8.66 points to close at 5,569.94 and the S&P SL20 gained 13.2 points to close at 2,627.19. The turnover was 364 million rupees with more than 13 million shares traded. Up next are Forex rates. That's all the news for today. Join us tomorrow on Biz Roundup. Until then, take care. Good night.